The honorable ladies and gentlemen of the audience, oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. All persons having business before the Honorable Theater Orr are admonished to draw near and give their attention, for the play is about to begin. God save the United States and this honorable auditorium.
The premise that the state from the inception of pregnancy maintains its own regulatory interest in protecting the life of the fetus that may become a child cannot be set at naught.
Society, an inmate should be sexually...
As a male employee, I am as offended as a female employee.
You're not being discriminated because
I think she makes her choice prior to the time she becomes pregnant.
maybe she makes a choice and she decides to live in Texas.
Well now, isn't this just fabulous? Lunch at the Phoenix Rotary Club. And here I am, your first woman speaker ever. What a thrill. There's my husband, John. Hello, John. I represent most of you in the state senate, but I know you only asked me here because John's your current president. Well, don't worry. There'll be no bra burning today. John said that you like stories about the Old West. So here goes. Once upon a time, I was dating this boy and we were getting kind of serious. So he came out to the ranch to meet my family. My father was outside in the corral castrating bulls, as one does. Now this boy knew nothing about ranching. My father reached in the bucket, grabbed a bunch of testicles and cooked them up on the branding fire. And then he handed the whole mess to the boy and he said, "Here, eat this." That boy just about died holding those horrible things. I don't get it. That story went over great at the junior league.
Law is not a game, but it is like chess. We must think several moves ahead. The key isn't picking the best case, it's picking the best client. A man wants to become a nurse, but he's denied admission to a nursing school because he's a man. If helping the man causes this court to strike down unfair laws against men and women, well, I ask you, what's so wrong with that? We've got a long way to go. Last week I was in the Supreme Court. Before the arguments, we could hear the justices talking about us as a bunch of cheap gals in short skirts. Listen to the tape, you can hear it. It's been over 100 years since Sarah Grimke demanded equal rights for men and women. Does anyone remember the name? I ended my argument to the court by quoting her. "I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brothers is that they take their feet off our necks." If looks could kill, I'd be dead.
They said wait here. They'll get us when the president is ready. No, John, I'll hold it. It sends a message. There's something comforting about a woman with a purse. I'm not nervous. I'm eager, especially for this part to be over. Serving on the court has got to be easier than getting confirmed. Life begins when the house is paid off and the kids go to college. We finally get there, and then I make you move to DC and deal with all this nonsense. You didn't sign up for it, but here you are. Thank you.
I will send to the Senate the nomination of Judge Sandra Day O'Connor of Arizona.
Can you believe it, Marty? that a woman should be appointed to the Supreme Court in my lifetime. By Ronald Reagan, no less. Chief Justice Burger said he'd step down if they put a woman on the court. We could be killing two birds with one stone here. Look at her. One good thing about electing an actor as president, they know who to cast. She's perfect. The all-American blonde.
President Clinton today nominated Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a 60-year-old judge on the Federal Appeals Court in Washington, to become a justice on the Supreme Court. If confirmed, she will replace retiring Justice Byron White and become the second woman on the court. Mr. Clinton's selection was the first by a Democratic president in 25 years. He praised Judge Ginsburg for her pioneering work on women's rights and said he expected her to be a consensus builder, a healer, and a moderate on the High Court.
Isn't this just fabulous? I have waited 12 years to shake hands with another woman here. It is so important to me that you do well for Ruth. It doesn't matter that I was the first woman here or that you're the second. What matters is we are not the last.
I know you meet to shake hands before the arguments, but do the others let go?
What have you got there? Notes for the argument?
Oh, no, it's just one of the court's docket orders. I never noticed before that the clerk uses the term Year of Our Lord on its forms. Who's Lord? We don't all count our years from the birth of Jesus.
I know that. We have Jews in Phoenix. Year of Our Lord is a tradition. It was good enough for Brandeis, for Frankfurter.
It isn't good enough for Ginsburg. Joking. I have a sense of humor.
I'll take your word for it. You know, we take freedom from religion seriously around here. I've written several opinions on the subject myself.
They were brilliant opinions.
When people say it's a brilliant opinion, what they mean is they don't understand it. Never write brilliant opinions. They'll just confuse people. And please, don't make a habit of it.
Being too sensitive?
Complaining. You won't win any friends that way. And don't try to change everything at once. Just slow down, take your time.
You mean don't be pushy?
Exactly.
Or what? I'll alienate the men?
No, you'll alienate me. You need me and I need you. Every vote counts. Like Justice Brennan said, this is all that counts around here, 5 votes. With 5 votes, you can do anything. Without 5 votes, you're just a kibitzer.
Oh, so you have a sense of humor too.
No, John was the funny one. But I can tell a story. You know the one about my father serving Rocky Mountain oysters to my boyfriend? You know who that boy was? Bill Rehnquist. Oh, what are the odds? 2 lawyers from Phoenix ended up on the Supreme Court at the same time. Be nice to everybody. That's my advice, because you're going to see them again. Harry Blackmun, he had to get it shortened. He only hires short clerks to make himself look taller. The clerks say he does impressions of me, a low voice, hoarse laugh, and he calls me bossy. To be fair, I am bossy, but I just don't like him saying so.
Men view strong women as bosses.
Not all men, just the weak ones. Harry talks a big game about women's rights. He likes us in theory, but I'm the only woman he works with and he can't stand me. Justice Byron Whizzer White, the only justice to have also played for the NFL, and he was good too. Oh, I'd shake his hand and I'd be sore for a week. And this is you.
At night, all cats are black. From the robes, you can't tell who's a man and who's a woman, as it should be. For years, there were no women playing in America's major orchestras. Then, a woman had the bright idea of dropping a curtain between the auditioning musician and the selection committee. And suddenly, when they couldn't tell who was playing and judged only by talent, women were magically found to be as good or better than men.
I like that. The best person to do a job isn't a man or a woman, it's who can do the best job, no matter the gender. Once folks figure that out, it'll be better for everyone.
But the question is when.
When they're ready. We're gonna get along just fine, Ruth.
Today is our chance. Sandra is the swing vote, the maker of majorities. I need her support so much. I almost went to her aerobics class this morning. Can you imagine? Who gets up so early to jump around? Still, the queen of the court deserves deference. Sometimes to get a little, you have to give a little. It's not a game, but the rules of persuasion apply. Let's see. Please get me a rough draft as soon as you can.
I was going to hire her as a clerk. When you were in the lower court, I hired more of your clerks than anyone else. Now that you're here, I don't know what I'll do.
You were always very open-minded about clerks. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for inviting me. Looks like you're all moved in. The art is fabulous. But Ruth, the rugs, beige? You can't keep beige clean. Not that you asked my opinion.
No, but I'm always happy to hear when you have one.
Well, the last thing I want is for you to fail. It doesn't matter that I was the first woman here or that you're second. What matters is we're not the last.
You've mentioned that. It made me think about how many men would prefer we were the last. Harry Blackman, for example.
Oh, Harry's not that bad.
Isn't he? He demeans you. The same way the man did in today's case.
Today's case is about forklifts. Harris versus Forklift Systems. Hear that? It's got forklift right there in the title.
Harris is about gender discrimination.
Ruth, since you appreciate my advice so much, focus on a nice tax issue first. Don't start banging the drum on a gender case right away, especially not today's.
Why not?
Because perception matters here. You don't want people to think you're going to be an activist. Plus, the Harris woman wasn't a victim of discrimination, and neither am I.
But you are, Sandra. You said so yourself. Justice Blackman mocks your voice, your laugh, calls you bossy. He doesn't do that to the men. They treat one another with civility. They call one another learned colleague or brother justice.
So, you want to call me Sister Justice? We'll sound like nuns.
The Harris woman sold forklifts. Her boss didn't like women selling forklifts, so he demeaned her. The same way Harry Blackman demeans you.
Harry Blackman is not my boss.
He doesn't like working with a woman. Neither did Teresa Harris's boss. So he mocked the Harris woman, called her names, said he'd give her a raise if she slept with him.
We already ruled on all this in the Meritor case. To sue, a woman has to prove her boss caused her a significant injury, something bad, really bad. Lord, the boss in the Harris case never even touched her.
I don't like the court's ruling in the Meritor case.
You don't have to like it. You just have to follow it. The Harris woman does not have a claim, and you don't have 5 votes to overturn Meredith.
Well, if you've already made up your mind,
I never decide a case before I hear an argument, but apparently you do.
no. Neither of us have. In a few weeks, we shall go out and listen to the arguments, and then we can decide, the way good judges are supposed to.
Yes, especially when they're new.
The Honorable the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of the United States. Oh yay, oh yay, oh yay. All persons having business before the Honorable the Supreme Court of the United States are admonished to draw near and give their attention, for the court is now sitting. God save the United States and this honorable court.
The clerk doesn't say all rise. He doesn't have to. People stand up on their own, out of respect.
It is very theatrical.
It's not theatrical. It's impressive.
Yes, impressively theatrical. With our robes, the lighting. When I argued before the court, I always felt like the lawyers got the best lines.
Ruth, you're one of us now. A justice. Someone who does justice. You're not just a noun anymore, you're a verb too.
Counselor, doesn't your client, Ms. Harris, present the court with a chance to expand the court's opinion in Meritor? We could, if we chose to, rule here that anything a boss says that makes a woman's job harder than a man's job is gender discrimination.
Excuse me? Meritor is clear. The boss's conduct has to be sufficiently severe enough to alter the conditions of a woman's employment, not just hurt her feelings.
That is not a clear legal standard.
It's clear to me.
It's not clear to Justice Scalia.
You said sufficiently severe to alter the conditions of employment. That is utterly meaningless to me. I don't care if we did say it. How do I know whether it's severe enough to alter the conditions? What magic event says, oh, it's risen to the level of severity to alter the conditions? I have no idea what that means.
I hope you don't think Justice Scalia agrees with you.
He seems to.
He was just showing off. He'd never vote to expand the law of gender discrimination. He'd be sued too often.
Well, that's progress. You concede the men here are guilty of gender discrimination. I wonder what you're more afraid of. Alienating conservative men or women?
What does that mean?
The hardest fights are with your own people. Believe me, working in the women's movement, I saw it firsthand. Betty's side fought with Gloria's side. Straights had issues with lesbians. White women versus women of color. Privilege versus poverty. This way versus that way. Oy. The point is, I know how hard this is for you.
Why do all New Yorkers sound like therapists? Look, Ruth, I want to understand your position. I really do. What you want is equality. Equal treatment for everybody, is that it?
Exactly.
Well, that is just silly. Equality would mean that the boss could bully the women as much as he wanted, as long as he bullies the men in the same way. Is that what you want? Equal bullying for all? Where is that in the Constitution?
The 14th Amendment. Maybe not exactly in those words. When I was at Columbia, they wanted to fire 26 janitors. all women. I wrote the college president and asked, how is this fair? There are more men janitors than women. He said, because men are their family's breadwinners. Where is that in the Constitution?
So, you got men fired too. Congratulations.
In the end, the school decided not to fire anyone. Never underestimate the power of guilt. What I want in the Harris case, what I want in every case, is for women and men all to be treated with equal dignity and respect, at home and at work.
Well, you're in the wrong business. You should be writing fiction, not legal opinions.
Tell me that after you've read my opinion in this case.
You!
Well, I'm an expert in this area. The expert, actually. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Chief Justice assigns the writing of opinions to justices with special expertise, which I happen to have.
Ruth, you'll get along just fine here. The court is full of big egos. The building was designed by Mussolini's architect, for goodness sakes. I just always figured it was male egos.
I'm not aware that you've ever been accused of humility.
Nobody got here being humble. We got here pretending to be humble.
So then, after the oral arguments, we debated the case. Don't ask me what the vote was, Marty. You know I can't tell you. But just between us, everyone voted the way you'd expect. What are you making? It smells wonderful.
Great shot, John.
Sandra? What can I say? She's a politician. She wants to be liked. She favors gender equality, but she doesn't want to upset her fellow conservatives. So she takes it one case at a time. No consistency. God only knows where she'll end up.
It's not that I mind her being a feminist, whatever that term even means anymore. What I resent is that she sees everything through the gender issue and then makes it worse by treating women as if we're all a bunch of weaklings who can't take a little insult here and there.
Of course, the Chief Justice will decide who writes the opinion. He's going to want the best person. I just happen to be the most qualified.
Nice putt, John.
We could be on the verge of real equality. My draft is coming together beautifully. Why shouldn't it? I've spent my entire life preparing to write it. Of course, I hadn't intended to make a big splash so soon in my tenure, but life is all about timing. I just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
John, did I tell you the chief asked me to write the opinion in the Harris case? Nice shot, Sandra.
I loathe Sandra's draft. Absolutely loathe it. It doesn't give the Harris woman justice. This is why some people shouldn't get a lifetime appointment. They don't grow, they linger. I can't confront Sandra directly. She gets so defensive. For such a strong woman, she is very sensitive. Therefore, I shall be deferential. Give a little, get a little. If she wants to think she's a queen, I'll treat her like a queen. She deserves it. won't even notice the changes I'll make. Go. I'll see you back in chambers.
I loathe it.
Absolutely loathe it. I love your draft.
So you're joining it as written. No edits.
Edits? What edits? One doesn't edit perfection. For what it is perfect. I only have one question. Is it really what you meant to say?
Well, let's see. I wrote it. So yes, it's exactly what I meant to say. In order to sue, a woman has to prove that the gender discrimination was sufficiently severe enough to alter the conditions of the workplace. Sticks and stones and broken bones, yes, but words can never hurt you.
But when Justice Blackmun calls you bossy, it hurts. I think you're missing a wonderful opportunity here, Sandra. This case could change things forever. We could finally make gender equality the law everywhere in America.
It's a bold idea, but today isn't about bold ideas. It's this.
I see. I should be pragmatic rather than idealistic. When you were appointed to the court, I thought you were wonderful. Even though you're pro-death penalties, support big business, vote to restrict abortion rights.
Go back to me being wonderful.
You are wonderful. A wonderful symbol.
Thank you. People love symbols. The flag, the Statue of Liberty.
Symbols stagnate. They don't grow or change. They can become obstacles to change.
You are a pill, Ruth. I am exhibit number 1, proof that the country has changed. Yet here you are, exhibit number 2, and you've forgotten history. I am not a symbol of change. I am change. Well, it doesn't sound like you're joining my opinion. That's a darn shame. We finally get 2 women here and we can't agree. I figured you'd want that.
Oh, well, hold on. Let's not give up yet. You're right. We should try to find common ground.
That's music to my ears, Ruth. Thank you. How would you like to start?
By finding our shared experiences. When I taught my gender law seminar, I asked the women students how they felt about the Equal Rights Amendment. It was kind of a litmus test. Where were you in 1972?
I was an Arizona housewife raising 3 boys. 4, if you count John. When I graduated Stanford Law School, not a single firm would hire me, even though, and I say this in all modesty, I did very, very well in law school.
As did I.
It's not a competition.
I was empathizing with you. No firm would hire me either.
I didn't say they wouldn't hire me. Gibson Dunn was all set to hire me as a secretary. I didn't complain. I opened my own firm. And I was doing well too, but then my babysitter got sick and I had to stop work to take care of the kids. I handled a few cases, did some charity work. I got elected chairwoman of the Junior League of Phoenix. Believe me, nothing in life is hard if you're running the Junior League of Phoenix. Where were you in '72?
In New York, teaching at Columbia, attending women's meetings.
About what?
Female consciousness.
Oh, Lord. I read about that. You didn't examine yourselves with hand mirrors, did you?
No. We talked about our experiences. It took me years to realize I was more than a second-class citizen. I didn't need to feel guilty for taking a job from a qualified man.
Men, they're lucky I like them. I lost count of how many crossed the line with me.
What do you mean, cross the line?
You know what I mean. Now don't try and pull your Socratic method on me. I'm talking about men being aggressive on a personal level. You know what I mean. More than flirting.
I know what you mean. I'm just curious what you think about it.
I don't think about it. I never think about it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they tried to do to me. What matters is I stood up to them and they backed down. Bullies, cowards, dogs in heat always do.
Not every woman is so forceful.
Well, they better learn and stop complaining. I hate complainers. Complaining doesn't change anything, but working to make things a little better, that's what changes things. You want more women in the workplace, right?
Exactly.
Me too. But if we let women like Teresa Harris sue her boss just because he says the wrong thing, then the boss is just going to hire a man next time. We'll have fewer working women.
That's what segregationists said, to deny black people their rights.
Don't drag race into it.
It's the same issue.
It is not. And don't let Thurgood Marshall hear you say it is. Women weren't lynched. Did we fight a civil war for women's rights?
We haven't suffered enough? Is that what you're saying? We don't deserve equal protection under the law because we haven't earned it?
I'm stating the facts. Once enough people finally got to the point they were willing to give black people equality, once they were ready to accept that change in the law changed. But it didn't happen overnight.
It didn't happen at all.
Well, that proves my point, not yours. You can't make people change the way they feel or think. You just can't force them to do that. If you do that, they're going to push back hard. All you can do is apply the law as it is, not as you want it to be, for everybody, and that is doing justice.
What about the bank teller in the Meritor case? You didn't do justice for her.
I did too. The boss physically assaulted her, and when she fought back, he fired her. We held that she could sue him and the bank he worked for. That was a landmark ruling, and I'm proud of what I did in that case.
You shouldn't be. Yes, you voted to let the woman sue. But what it took her to win, you said that she had to prove the bank knew the boss was assaulting her.
Exactly.
How was she ever going to prove that? The man wasn't going to confess. He'd go to jail, and the bank wouldn't admit it. They'd have to pay the woman damages. All you did was give women the right to pursue hopeless cases.
It's just ridiculous. But that's what an ideologue does. It just ignores the facts.
You want to talk about the facts? The vote to let the woman sue was unanimous. But the vote on what it took her to win the case was not unanimous. It was 5-4. You were the fifth vote. You guaranteed the woman would lose, that all women would lose.
You weren't there. If I had switched sides, I'd lose the votes we had in favor of letting her sue to begin with. Sometimes to get something, you have to give something. If you don't like it, change the Constitution. Get the Equal Rights Amendment passed. I tried, you tried. We got 35 states to ratify it. We needed 38. We lost. End of story.
I'm very aware of the fact that we lost. Did you know when the Meritor case was all over, they still hadn't fired the boss? He was still working at the bank. What you did in that case changed nothing.
For such a brilliant woman, Ruth, you sure can be naive. Men still make the laws. And some of them don't even think that gender discrimination is even a valid concept. Professor Dershowitz, he says men have a constitutional right to engage in sex talk when they're at work. Judge Kaczynski, he says that if you ban sex talk, you're you're gonna stop all office romances, which is a worry to Judge Kaczynski. Men feel like they're superior. They were raised to think that. The law can't change it. Mothers have to do it. We need to raise better boys and girls with higher standards.
You make law into such a small, insignificant thing. Law is not just a follower, it's a leader. It makes change.
Yes, it can, over time, but it takes slow, steady steps, and it's a long, hard race. I've shot enough rabbits to know they don't last. But tortoises, they live forever. They get where they want to go because they've got hard shells, tough skin, and steely determination, like me, like you. Trust me, we have time. I've been here a long time. I've seen how this place works. We're young, relatively, and healthy. Together, we could do great things. Tortoise.
Tortoise.
Hoping to catch you before you left, and I dropped you off somewhere.
No, thank you. I'm waiting for Marty to pick me up. You look wonderful, but won't you be cold?
Not if I keep moving. John's picking me up. We're going to his club for the annual dinner dance.
Isn't it canceled? They're calling this the blizzard of the century.
Now they call every blizzard that. It better not be canceled. John and I don't get enough chances to dance anymore. Folks are always surprised I let him lead.
Oh, I never let Marty lead. A brilliant man, but a terrible dancer. At our wedding, I danced with his father. Now, there was a dancer.
Ruth, the chief asked me to write the Virginia Military Institute opinion. Women can finally join the rat line, though God knows why they want to.
Congratulations. VMI could be a landmark decision.
Yes, I think it could. That's why I'm giving the opinion to you. I want you to write it.
Can you do that?
I just did. Only reason nobody's done it before is because it's been all men here, and men don't like to give up glory.
This could be one of the most important gender cases in years. Why hand it to me?
Well, I've always said the most qualified person to do a job should get the job. And you're the most qualified person to write the VMI opinion, man or woman. So it's yours.
I don't know what to say.
That's a first. Ruth, your opinions over the last 3 years have been excellent. Scholarly, moderate.
I've tried to follow your lead.
Good. Do that in VMI. We're forcing a school to accept women cadets after 162 years of being all men. That's going to make a lot of folks mad. We need a unanimous decision, like Brown versus Board of Education.
I understand.
I hope so. Now, Clarence won't be a problem. He recused himself. His son goes to VMI. So we're talking 8 votes. Now, Justice Kennedy could always go either way, so don't go too far to the left or you'll lose him. As for your pal Nino,
Nino listens to reason.
bet you $1 he doesn't on this one, but 7-1 wouldn't be a bad result. What we don't want is a close decision. What we want is a nice big majority. So don't push too much. Try to get as many of the justices on board as you can, even if it means you don't get everything you want.
But what if I think the time is right, finally, to expand protections for women in all areas? What if I treat bias against women the same way we treat racial discrimination? Will you take the case back from me?
No. The opinion is yours.
Well then, I hope I get your vote.
I hope you do too. There's John. I better get going.
Sandra, I can't tell you what this means to me. Thank you.
That fear of the impending Y2K computer glitch may present a bigger challenge to the economy than the Millennium Bug itself. In other news, Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg underwent surgery for colon cancer Friday. A court spokeswoman would not speculate on her prognosis.
There's a tide in the affairs of men and women, which taken at the flood leads on to fortune, omitted all the voyage of their life is bound in shallows and in miseries. Shakespeare only wrote 2 women in positions of power, Titania and Lady Macbeth. One was a fairy queen, the other was a psychopath. Some role models. Oh, is Marty still in the waiting room? Oh, poor man. He's more upset than I am. Reporters are on a death watch, waiting to see if I'll die, leave a vacancy. Like the court is a hotel. Vacancy, no vacancy.
You got the cactus? Good. It reminded me of you. Dry and prickly.
What are you doing?
I'm at my aerobics class on the 5th floor of the court, the one you never go to.
Look at you, always so cheerful. It's why President Reagan loved you. The 2 of you were always so damn sunny and cheerful, like a couple of cowboys riding the range.
Is it the drugs or do you think about me a lot?
I can't help but think about you. It's like a Doris Day song. I can't get out of my head. Make it, turn it off, please. We're archetypes, the 2 of us. Cliches. The smart brunette with glasses and the great American blonde. Did you know President Clinton wasn't going to appoint me because he heard I was a cold fish. As if Bill Clinton was in any kind of position to judge. I'm not a cold fish. I'm shy.
You hate it because I've always been ahead of you and you can never catch up.
Is that what it is?
10 days after my mastectomy, I sat through an entire schedule of oral arguments. I looked horrible, but so what? The date of the argument was October 31st, Halloween. You're supposed to look horrible on Halloween. It doesn't matter that I was the first woman or that you're the second. What matters is...
We're not the last. I know. When you speak, I listen. Even when you repeat yourself. The men never listen. You were right about Harry Blackman. After he died, they found in his papers that he graded all the lawyers who argued before him. He gave me a C+. Said I was pushy. A pushy Jew is what he meant.
You should have sued him.
You should have. He did impressions of you, not me. At least he voted the right way on Roe versus Wade. You don't make any sense on the issue. You vote to legalize it, you vote to restrict it. You're all over the map. How do you justify that?
I contradict myself. I'm large. I contain multitudes.
Listen to you. No shame.
It's your dream. What do you want me to say?
I want you to apologize to all the women out there who are still being abused. You said things would change. Well, they haven't changed. On gun rights, voting issues, I don't agree with you, but I can understand. But on women's issues, how can you vote with the conservatives? I'll never forgive you for the Harris case.
Forgive me? You should thank me. The court voted exactly as I promised. 9-1 to let Teresa Harris sue, and then later, when the time was right, we ruled that anything that makes a woman's job harder than a man's is gender discrimination. You won.
How many years too late? And when you finally did what I wanted, it wasn't to protect women, it was to protect men. An all-male work crew. One man was sexually abusing another man. That's when the court finally agreed with me, when men were the victims. Oh, and the way you manipulated me to pull back in the VMI case.
People loved your VMI opinion. Except for Nino. You never did get his vote. But 7-1 wasn't bad. VMI was your shining moment.
I pulled back. I compromised. I didn't go far enough.
You did the best you could.
It wasn't good enough. Small steps. Be a tortoise. Go slow. I wasted time, opportunity, and now it's too late. I'm dying.
I see why you like opera so much. You're such a drama queen. Schedule your chemotherapy on Fridays. That way it'll give you time to recuperate so you won't miss time on the bench.
You did that when you had cancer. I heard you say it on TV. I remember thinking, you were so brave. I could never do that. I keep thinking about my mother and my sister, my poor sister. She died when I was a baby, back when my name was still Joan. I never even knew her.
Your name was Joan? I can't see you as a Joan.
I can't see it either, but there it is, written on my birth certificate. It wasn't my choice to be named Ruth. There were too many Jones in my first grade class. My teacher used my middle name.
Did you complain?
No. I wasn't brave enough. Oh, Sandra. What do I do? I'm so scared. What do I do?
Do better. Get better. Become the queen of the court. I dare you.
Hold on. Let me get my bearings. How do I look? Oh, like a Holocaust survivor. Like a bag of bones. A very, very small bag. They said it was a lifetime appointment. I'm getting every minute out of mine.
You hit my car again.
I'll pay for the damages.
I just got it back from the last time you hit it and ran. That was a hit and run, Ruth.
I have no excuse, except that Marty usually drives. But since I've been back to the court, I've been so busy with the speeches and the working late. I wanted to be more independent. Plus, the lines between the cars are so close together.
You could stick a horse trailer between those lines. Why is it always my car? Why don't you hit the car on the other side?
Justice Scalia's car is on the other side.
Don't hit him. You'll never hear the end of it. Funny what you think about. I was thinking back to when I was a trial court judge in Arizona. I had this woman in front of me, convicted of passing bad checks. The law called for jail, but if I sent her away, the state would take her kids and put them in foster care. What would you have done?
I was never a trial court judge.
That's your problem. You never had to get your hands dirty. You never had to take the law in your own hands and hammer somebody with it. What do you think I did in that case?
I don't know.
I sent her away. The state of Arizona took her kids away. I went back to my chambers and I cried my eyes out. But I followed the law.
Sounds like an unfair law.
There was nothing unfair about it. It was equal treatment for everybody.
Yeah, equally unfairly. You said we're nouns and verbs as justices. Our job is to do justice.
You remember everything I say, but you don't understand a word of what I mean.
I'm just quoting.
No, you're not. You're taking my words out of context and then stitching them together into your argument. I was hoping to come in here and talk like human beings, not argue like lawyers and judges.
Sandra, what's wrong?
I'm stepping down from the court to take care of John. I've tried to bring him to work with me, but you've seen how he is. They think it's Alzheimer's.
Sandra, you're a wonderful wife. You don't need to do this.
He needs me.
He needs help. But it doesn't necessarily need to be you who provides it. Would a man step down from the court to care for his wife? Has any man ever done it? Why must the woman always be the one to sacrifice her career for the family?
John would do it for me. I know he would. Same way Marty would for you.
I wouldn't let him. When we were in law school, Marty got cancer. I took care of him, kept up with all our classes, and took care of our baby. But I would not quit the court to care for Marty now. He wouldn't want me to.
Have you asked him? Let's hope you never have to. I thought you'd be happy to see me ride off into the sunset.
Of course I'm not happy. We voted on the same side many times.
No one would accuse you of being sentimental. Yes, I voted with you on quite a few times to protect the environment, to limit the war on terror, to protect free speech.
Those were wonderful votes.
Sure, when I agreed with you, they were wonderful, but I don't seem to recall when you came over to my side on a close case.
That's not fair. You're in the center. You don't really have a side.
That's me. A radical moderate. A revolutionary centrist. The center is getting harder and harder to find, which is a darn shame because that's where things happen, not out on the fringes. What's so wrong with the center?
Did I say anything was wrong with it? Oh, I do wish you'd stay. You're very important. Clarence calls you the glue that holds the institution together.
That's what I want to talk to you about. You could be the glue. The center is getting harder, but there's still room if you're willing to bend just a little bit more. Just bend a little bit more. Give a little on this case, get a little on that case. Build a majority, put together a census, and grow your power.
I'm afraid I am not much of a horse trader.
No, you'd rather be the lone voice of truth.
I'd rather
the great dissenter.
Vote my principles.
No, don't do that.
Then let the future decide who's right?
People hate profits. It's a terrible business. Better to get things done than to say, I told you so. So no chance of you being the new glue? Crickets. Can't say I didn't try. One good thing about leaving, It'll cut down on my car repairs.
Ledbetter proved at trial that for 20 years she was paid less than men for the same work because her employer engaged in pervasive gender discrimination. But today, the majority opinion reverses her trial victory. This is not the first time the court has used a cramped interpretation of the law to deny women equal rights. The majority opinion is wholly incompatible with the robust protection against workplace discrimination that Congress intended. Thus, the ball is now back in Congress's court to do justice for Ms. Ledbetter, because this court has failed her. For the reasons stated, I dissent.
John, you're still the most wonderful dancer. Fabulous. John, it's all right. It's all right. Shh. I'm here. I'm right here.
Today, the court upholds a prohibition on the right to abortion with no exception to protect the life and health of the mother. The majority ignores the rule of law, the court's own precedent, and the well-being of women everywhere. This cannot be understood as anything other than an effort to chip away at the right declared again and again by this court, and upon which women's control over their bodies and destiny are dependent. For the reasons stated, I dissent.
62, 63, 64. John, are you okay in there? Swish the water around so I can hear you haven't drowned. Thank you. Darn it, I lost count. I'm fine, John, everything's fine. I just dropped something, don't worry.
This was a 13-year-old girl, an honest student, not some hardened criminal. The school made her strip down to her bra and panties to see if she was in possession of an aspirin, not heroin. What the school officials did was wrong.
Why is this a major thing to say strip down to your underclothes, which children do when they change for gym? How bad is this?
How bad is this? The girl was traumatized.
But I mean, I hate to tell you, it just seems to me like a logical thing when an adolescent child has some pills or something, they know people looking for them, they'll stick them in their underwear.
They didn't find any pills, but they still made her sit outside the vice principal's office for over 2 hours. They never called her mother. The girl dropped out of school.
In my experience, when I was 8 or 10 or 12 years old, we did take off our clothes once a day, we changed for gym. Okay? And in my experience, too, people did sometimes stick things in my underwear. Well, not my underwear. Whatever. I don't know. I don't think it's beyond human experience.
You're laughing at an assault on a little girl.
You keep focusing on the fact that it's unlikely that the pills would be concealed in her underpants. That doesn't go to the brassiere at all. The issue here covers the brassiere as well, which doesn't seem as outlandish as the underpants, right?
You have a daughter. How do you not understand this was wrong?
The case is submitted.
Oh. They should allow cameras into the Supreme Court. Let people see 8 men laughing at a little girl being humiliated. Get me that reporter from USA Today. If people can't see what's going on, at least they can read about it.
John, come in here and sit down. Let me read to you. Let's see what's going on in the court. Looks like they had a pretty darn interesting Fourth Amendment case yesterday. It's about a drug search at a middle school.
Of course, I can't say anything about our deliberations. On the record, the matter is still pending. But I do have an opinion on the oral arguments in the case.
I can't believe it. Ruth gave an interview on a pending case. On the record.
What is obvious to me, and should have been obvious to my colleagues, is that none of them has ever been a 13-year-old girl. Maybe a 13-year-old boy doesn't feel the same way about his body, but a girl forced to be strip searched can be traumatized. For the school officials to humiliate the girl is one thing, but for the men on the highest court to joke about it, what sort of message does that send? To me, it shows how little has changed, how far we still have to go to protect women and little girls.
She thinks she's going to win any votes that way? She's crazy.
It's easy for Sandra to criticize me. She's not here.
If I was there, the men would never behave like that. They'd be too afraid.
Sandra right. Was I wrong to give the interview? I was. The men behaved themselves when she was here. It wasn't just because they were afraid, it was because they loved her and didn't want to disappoint her. What's so irritating is that I don't want to disappoint her either, even now. The first one to break a barrier has a power no one who comes after can match. The symbol endures. From the crooked timber of humanity, nothing grows straight. Sandra didn't grow, but she didn't grow bitter either. I can't believe. I miss her.
Now then, Special Agent, this here plant's a shiny flea bait. Your Special Agent friend over there is stepping on an evening primrose. Get off the primrose, would ya? You can't help, at least don't kill anything. Lord, what a waste of tax dollars.
I'm worried. Sandra's been saying such terrible things about the court. What if she speaks that way in public? To be honest, I hope she doesn't come.
Where did I put my shovel? Yeah, don't tell me, help me, I'll find it out myself. I'm right in the middle of something.
Sandra, it's me, Ruth. Bader Ginsburg.
I know who Ruth is.
How are you, Sandra? I was just calling to ask if you'll be joining us for the event, or will we need to make do without you?
You can't celebrate my career without me. At least have the decency to wait till after I'm dead.
But if you're not feeling up to it, I'm sure everyone will understand. Traveling is hard at our age, and And you're older.
Just by 3 years.
Yes, but those were hard years on you.
Are the others coming?
Yes.
Darn it. And I feel I have to go. I hate talking about the past. It's depressing.
Then don't come. We shall honor you in your absence. It might be better that way.
What do you mean?
Nothing. It's just that one hears things through the grapevine. You're not happy with your replacement, Justice Alito.
I'm entitled to have an opinion on him. Just because I left the court doesn't mean I lost my First Amendment rights.
Still, criticizing members of the court isn't really appropriate, is it?
Well, now that's funny coming from you. I didn't give an interview to USA Today on a pending case. You talk about betraying the court. Now that was betraying the court.
I'm sorry, Sandra. My call has obviously upset you. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.
I hate these events. They're a total waste of time. She's right, I shouldn't have talked about the court. But then why do they call me and have me come out and talk about it? I know why. They want to see if I'm still alive. And all there. Well, I am. Special agents, pack up the gear. We're headed east.
Welcome to the 34th anniversary celebration of the appointment of Sandra Day O'Connor to the Supreme Court. This is only the second time all 4 women justices of the court will appear on the same stage together. The doors will open soon.
Here we are. When is it over?
We have to start first. When the other 2 get here. Sonia and Elena.
I know. I'm not that bad yet.
Would you like some fruit? They set out a very nice platter.
Maybe no wine, though. Probably should wait until after. We wouldn't want you to fall asleep like you did at the State of the Union address. I can't believe you're still on the court, Ruth. What's that line? Gentiles leave, but don't say goodbye, but the Jews say goodbye and never leave. Oh wait, that's not it. It was the British, not the Gentiles. Now, well, I got the Jewish part right. John was the one who could tell a joke.
Are you really feeling all right?
What have you heard?
Nothing. It's good to see you. It's been too long. Do you follow the court anymore?
No, not since your friend Nino wrote about that gun case. What was the name of that?
The Heller case?
That's it. For 200 years, nobody realized that the Constitution gave us the right to own assault rifles until your pal Nino discovered it, like Columbus. Those Italians were good explorers.
You don't seem yourself lately. Your comments about the court, I don't know, you seem unfiltered.
Not unfiltered, I'm old. And when you get old, you get to tell the truth. Getting off the court helps. It was freeing. You should try it. No, who am I kidding? You're never gonna leave the court. You're just going to keep working, getting older and older and smaller until one day a clerk hears a poof, you're gone. The only thing they'll find are these big black glasses, and they're gonna pack them up and send them to the Smithsonian.
You're angry that I'm still on the court?
No. But President Obama is, at least according to the papers. He wants you to retire so he can put someone else younger in your seat. That's what I hear. You've got to hear it too. I suppose you're going to wait until Hillary wins and let her get the pick.
Well, would it be so terrible letting Hillary pick my replacement?
No, it makes a lot of sense. In fact, I'm all for it. You still being on the court isn't what gets me mad. What gets me mad is we failed. We must have. Look at the state of women's rights.
And this is my fault?
Well, you sure didn't help much. Well, you complained plenty, but what good did that do? That's what I want to know. If it did any good, why are women better off?
I've done more than complain.
Sorry, not complain. Dissented. You've become the great dissenter. My grandkids have that on a poster, or you got it on a poster. They have it on a t-shirt. Do you make any money off of that? My retirement pension isn't what I thought it'd be. We had to sell off the ranch when Daddy died. Oh, I miss the quiet of that place. The big lonesome.
Sandra, it would be much better if you didn't speak here today.
Well, better for you, maybe. You just don't want anybody to knock your crown off. Name one important opinion you've written in the last 10 years. Name one case where you put together a majority, built a consensus, got anything done. The VMI case was 18 years ago. What happened?
I got sick and realized we don't have all the time in the world. We're not tortoises. We can't stay in our shells. As for my dissents, they are not complaints. They're reminders of what this court used to stand for and must stand for again. You taught me so much about how to be a justice, but when it came to doing justice, you never fought to really expand rights, never risked anything. You were like a big sister to me, but you were no role model for how to create lasting change. And when we needed you most, you quit.
To take care of John. That didn't work out. By the time I got to be with him, John didn't even know who I was. He'd fallen in love with another woman at the rest home. But I never regretted my choice.
I respect that. I just never understood it.
You never understood a lot of things. I did more than anybody had a right to expect. Nobody put my face on a t-shirt. Believe me. Folks on the right hated me for being pro-choice. Folks on the left hated me for not being pro-choice enough. I got more death threats than anybody in the history of the court.
You were still voted the most admired woman in America.
It wouldn't be today. Too middle of the road. Not partisan enough. You know what your problem is.
I'm not aware that I have a problem.
Exactly. Your problem is you don't think you have one. Because you still think you can control everything. Well, you can't. All you can do is set a good example, be a symbol. That's all anybody can do.
I know. You taught me. 100 years after Sarah Grimke told men to take their feet off our necks, nobody remembers her name. But they'll remember me. I don't make money from Notorious RBG t-shirts. But I have seen the power of being a symbol. I just don't think it's all we can be. Our opinions, our ambitions, they matter.
Sure, they just don't matter much. I used to think that we got the last word, but we don't. Time gets the last word. Now, only symbols outlive time.
You're wrong, Sandra. You have to be. I'm proud to be a symbol, but it's not enough. We've moved past just needing symbols. Right now, all over the world, there are more free and brave women than at any other time in human history. Look at India. Look at Afghanistan. Women are getting educated, getting involved. You were right. The country has changed. We are proof of it, but it's not been enough. The days of giving a little to get a little are over. If Hillary wins, not that I'm picking sides, but when she wins, we will get at least 2 new justices on the court. My thought is both will be women. It'll mean liberal majorities for a generation. The court will finally protect our right to choose how we live our lives.
What if they're the wrong women? What if they're not qualified for the job? What if they're more conservative or liberal than us? You'd be okay with that?
I'd rather,
as long as they're women?
Well,
that makes you nearly as bad as the men.
I'd rather have a bad woman on the court than a bad man. But what I prefer is 9 good women. At least for 100 years or so, just as a way to equal things out. Then they could call one another Sister Justice, and no one would even think they were nuns.
Lord, I don't need another sister. I've already got one. She's younger than me, but she doesn't go around bragging about it like you do. We don't get along, but it doesn't matter. She helped me take care of John when he got sick. When I need her, she's there. That's how sisters are.
I never knew my sister. But the women we become closest to aren't always the women or the sisters that we're born with. They're the women we choose to follow. When I was young, I discovered the book of Ruth. At the end of the story, Ruth says to Naomi, "Whither thou goest, I will go. For your people are my people. And where you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. You are my people, Sandra, and I am yours. Not even death can ever separate us. Even if I started my life as a Joan, I can be Ruth because of you.
Ruth, I'm old. And I'm scared. Don't go.
Don't you either.